Well, hello. Today I'm going to show you again my drum sander with a couple of improvements. What I did is add a couple of pressure rollers so it'll keep the wood or the material that you put in there from slipping on the conveyor belt. I put one roller aft of the drum and $1 forward from the drum. You know, they're close together, so that'll put in some spring pressure against the material. It'll keep it from sliding on the slipping on the conveyor belt. I made that because I noticed a couple of times when I was sanding a longer piece, I noticed that it started to slip. And when it slipped, you had to go there and push it, hand push it to get it to grip again. And the problem with that is every time it stops, it leaves like a little groove. And that is a problem because then you have to sand more than you wanted to get rid of that groove or pass it through the planer one more time, you know. But that was a great improvement. I couldn't get it to slip anymore after I put those rollers. You know, the rollers are pressure. Have the pressure, you know, with a spring. What I made was a flat spring instead of have a coil spring, and that solved most of the tactical problems I had to design the machine. Otherwise, it would have had to be a lot taller with the springs pushing down from the top. So with a flat roller, with the flat springs, I solved that problem, and I'm very happy. On all other things that happen is when you put it on a short piece that was a little bit thick, at the very end, the drum was pushing the material and kicking the front of the material. So it sometimes it wouldn't jam, but it caused a problem. So them rollers also eliminated that problem. Thank God, you know, for the great mind inventions. And I got those rollers on eBay. I bought 4 rollers. I already used 2 for the conveyor belt, and then I had 2 extra rollers that I saved in case of something happened to the original one. But then I thought maybe I can use those rollers for a pressure roller to keep the wood, you know, from slipping and putting more pressure into the conveyor belt, and that came handy. So I didn't throw my money away when I bought 4 rollers. I found it on eBay, but I'm sure you can find it also in other places, you know, like the Granger or similar places like that. Anyways, McMaster, Granger, even Amazon now these days is carry all kinds of stuff. But anyways, thank you very much and enjoy the explanation. Well, like I was saying, under this hood, they have the drum and the 2 rollers, like these over here roller, and there is one aft and one in front of it. So, and this is the main roller. That's the main drum, you know, the sensor. What the purpose of these rollers are is to keep some pressure. See, as here it's got some springs right here, some flat springs that help keeping the pressure on the rollers, on the material over here. I'll show you more or less. And you put the material in there, and it sucks it in by itself, and it keeps the pressure against the roller. The roller keeps the pressure of the material against the belt. You know, goes through the sander to the drum, and it catches the roller on the other side. It's and so far, after all the trials and everything, I didn't have any slippage anymore between the belt and the material. You know, that was the biggest complaints that I hear looking up on the internet. The drum sound they have, that sometimes you don't put too much pressure, or you put too much pressure, and the material the belt starts slipping underneath the material and it's not advancing. So that's how I corrected the problem. I'll show you a little bit. So this, I'm going to take the springs out, and I'm going to take the roller out easy, and I'll show you how it's made. Okay, I removed the two flat springs. Let me pull the roller out, and here's the roller. And it has, you can see there's two blocks right here. The blocks of wood are like covered with a piece of aluminum can, like you see that. The reason for that is that makes the block a lot easier to slide up and down, and the sled it's easier if it was wood to wood, for example. You know, this is, and then it has a cavity here that makes that lets the bearings slide through. Here's the two bearings, and separated by a spacer, so it keeps the block from tilting. A double bearing keeps the block from trying to tilt one way or the other. And at the end, it has a white washer that keeps the block from going inwards with a collet. It has a collet over in the outside. So that keeps the roller from going back and forth, and it keeps the blocks in place. You know, a very simple mechanism. And you can see the block fits in this groove over here. There's a groove that I cut. And that's and I put a little bit of grease on the outside against the aluminum, and that allows the block from slide extremely easy. Now this is the block. I got one on each side, exactly the same, and what I do is just slip the blocks into the grooves, and the roller is already installed. I made some mess with the grease anyways. But let me put the springs back on. It's only take one screw on each side. I'm going to put the springs back on, and I'm going to show you exactly how it works. Before I put these things, I made these springs myself with a piece of bandsaw. I have a bandsaw. I had an inch bandsaw. I ground the teeth off, and I ground this a little bit more, just to have the adequate pressure and the thing. So I put the springs, which used to be an old bandsaw. That's it. The springs are installed. So what we can do now is I'm going to round this. Let me plug the machine up. Okay. There you go. That's the way it works. Very simple. Really simple mechanism, and it's extremely hard to make it slip. Now here, I don't have to force it. It goes in by itself. Now I'm going to run it a little bit without the hood, but don't like to do that too much because let me adjust the height. Okay. I didn't want to take a pass too aggressive because without the hood, I got sawdust everywhere in my face. I'm going to put the hood back on and I'll show you some more. And then we're going to try different I will show you how these small items like these, you can see my hand, you know, I can cover the whole item with my hand. Small items like this, I can put through it, and normally at the end, a thing like that, not all the time, but sometimes this thing, the drum going this way, will kick this thing up, and it causes a little groove at the end. So the rollers, they totally prevented that from happening. So I'm going to show you how these things works, and it just goes in there and it fits in there and it's perfectly. No hang-ups, no tilting, no nothing. Okay, let me turn the suction on. Perfect. This is the motor that turns the conveyor belt. So it's a little simple motor, the cheap motor that I bought from Amazon, and a little chain with a couple of sprockets, and that's it. That's the motor, activates the up and down mechanism. It's the same exact motor, and instead of putting a chain and a sprocket, I put two timing belt pulleys and a little timing belt. They're ones they use for the CNCs and whatnot.